Rugadh Iain Mac Phearsain. Na Heilrich sy'n BBC. Hitti a chaiach áitig yn yr chotach y tŵa y glachgach mar gymach as yn ysga le mwynir y BBC. Galafit ar sisio. Yn yw niawca sa chig dynnu cheili orn tylig. Dúlach is siúlach, crahag a jalach I yn fianis hollis is maics is luchgarg, ri dídir a char a chuain, a cur sglew na líne idd adis sliúk na neladrach. A filmig sa valias gich fanach aiw tyligias gach bú vic a reiskis út a gnach car colachris, cleif gemach vice, mar chuinechan in sgríb. San tjaun che haas da jismiain a straat a crochen coke macash an topper na cúne, a cúnig an híd a galaf leis an uske, cat ní sin an grach. The Emigrants and the BBC. There she is, the old lady, someplace on the North Shore, caught like a lobster in the rain by the folk from the BBC. They've gone, she says, the young ones, and no one comes to visit us anymore. A migrating heritage, the pain of separation in view of lights and mics and spectators peeping overseas, lowering the veil of ages on the recitation of emigrant stock. Filming in the fishing village, devoid of any fish, but a small shop selling something like it, tiny lobster pots, souvenirs of the trip, and the old one still in the middle of the street, Coke cans at her feet, in memory's well, mourning the seed that left with the rain. Cut, that'll do. And that poem is set in Canadian Gàidhealtachd in Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia. And from sea to sea, or crossing the same sea, to Tarscavik in the Isle of Skye, Balavan Law, still silent day, mar chuinech in het gillespig dánlach Tarscavik. Laat de heeliki, jédig gegrian, as kielne bruichet, slaan, eich. Es hes roomes canai, it bielo vai, mechenju te hei, cahenel, an an English van. Es shachet sin, in culin fat, cawn rústje, mar tjalav calendar bullachúr. Es na satje machaust, na helen en shir a hanik en barig an a grach a vor, fade, dóhretje nach clear. Agus a raad chuach loam, a steig at a herevish, va biaunt in chirmorn en shesum ar chauch, at an keo or a shin, ceach na tchaid. Scalav na minute norn, mis jack de chud van an úig, ráatje, chosachker, cíneag as de heen, mar saulagorst, mar rekkerst et ballavach nin spade. This is in memory of Archie MacDonald Tarscavik. On the day of your funeral, the sun rose above that hill, full, brazen, and rum and canna stood up in front of the bay before your house, a congregation in a ministerless church. And beyond that, the whole Cullen Ridge, bareheaded, like a calendar photo, brand new. And out further still, the Western Isles appearing almost on purpose, on the horizon unbelievably clear. And on the bare bent road into your service, the mainland mountains were upstanding like the rest, wearing hats of mist, foreign honour in your midst. And the minutes stole away on us before you were set under the frozen earth, so steady, sure of themselves, like a symbol of you, like an answer to the still silence of space. Agus for sin has sin dul an núl goríce Venice. So I was thinking a lot of these poems are elegies or laments in a way. This is new life in Venice. As de cheann, above your head. Cutjurit of a mwy lúchast an dóis is nuv marcus at cúlú, hesbuin de garabich at chúrst, is ferva cawn an turis húrte rútiganach man a grein, al shacham, a va jaursagar chloich úr, ser döten blas a fram, ser lá an chawn ar a stúr, ser bonnet jauri de vami, a shaolag an spéð, buan, as de cheann. With you outside the Doge's palace and St. Mark's behind us, a group of Arab tourists stood, and the one in charge of the trip said something about the sun, al-shaham, that was shining on the cold stone, on your warm face in the pram, on my hands tight round the helm, and on your mummy's winter bonnet, sailing endless skies overhead. Drecken Eilean, seo piece Hanukkah macha dúlachas Eilean Fhearsain in Canada, Eilean Mac. This is a piece inspired by a bit of Prince Edward Island tradition, where my mother's from. A drek is a meteor, but it's also a portent of death. Drecken Eilean, island falling star. Chunaki drek ar se persi lacht na goa, in tachka stove, Kate Meadhanan Chunna ma bháthair drek le salt, as cúnan hólat, nápi a bhain, a chúchil garid na dheoy, eiche mas dánig an jalan. Is nishe ha essen het fallov, tanach go mi hín solis na cárið, is statir t'fhuireach, sa chiste, dal seachad go mau. She saw a falling star, Percy McPherson said, next to the stove, looking out of the window. My mother saw a Death Star, you know, above that barn there, a neighbour's, who died shortly after, a night before electricity came, and now he's gone, and I didn't see the car's lights on, stopping by the side of the road as his coffin passes by slowly. Ha sin initiatal rash gan Eilean Sgitheanach go Eilean Ráirse to Phearsain, and thoughts that arose thinking of Palestine and the Highlands. Eadar Ráirse is Ramallah, between Phearsain and Ramallah. Agus Gàidhealtachd ciad bliain in the dheoy, na bican a bharach, nach mach gnáte, gus enim in nuach gorin, is clírig enim in slúai, scapte mar deantach in ed bar a chuain, a chur an dain, sa chur an cló, sa chur bilin luch lévi, vo gnéitin go Tel Aviv. Is súlin tic sárlia Eilean an an Adapish an is úr, count eichid blian in an cár, gus al nachba o luai, is súlin na tséise, a gáilgan an nuachach, a creiscin mar deantacin ed uach gur cuain, a héitig har bilin gúine cáda, vo Bethlehem go Palachar. And only 100 years afterwards, or a little more, a native son appeared, to put the landlord's name and the names of people cleared, scattered like nettles on the surface of the sea, into poetry, into print, and on to readers' lips from Edinburgh to Tel Aviv. And do you think another Samuel will come, in Arabic old and new, 40 years from now or more, to blow his people's undoing, and this girl's shell-shocked eyes, her skin like nettles atop a sea, across the lips of good people, from Bethlehem to Palachar? And then Eadar-Gàidhealtachd, a cúineach dúine gur tsunami on. The 2004 tsunami also coincided with the death of a dear friend in the Isle of Skye. Cui in ye nolach Eadar-Gàidhealtachd, Boxing Day Lament 2004. Mar cúineach in it Eilean Sgitheanach, in memory of Alan Ord Nicholson. Is garid in yoi crí varha in yera yes, hiúlú fat a chlati chéin, is mar bhuai at a leirs gris shir gal a meid, lá in ye lá fat seach in na yoi, huarag bra de vash chéin an an post jalain, a hu crahag at an dúhulse, mar tsunami a búlag trai. And shortly after the quake in the Southeast Sea, you shoved off your own shore, and like the after effects of utter desolation, forever increasing day after day, a full week on, notice came of your distant death in an email that shook this world like a tsunami beating a beach. Agus hísin, am dachil lúg nach dach nach bulacho traum chthia, something not quite as melancholy. The next poem, a pair of them, inspired by taking the train to Dublin from Belfast. Bristig agus avristig, breaking and re-breaking. Bristig. Mura bristig ar chostanyer na héden, mar dánach gyivik, a shielagas, ma cheniu ferek brahar vor, fatas. Avristig. Mura bristig ar chostanyer na héden, mar erek brahar vor, a tolemeet, ma cheniu dánach gyivik, fatas. Tarscivig poem, Isle of Skye, Loscach, Burning. Gach tripig mi siachad an teaghlach leis vinacham, hí gesteirem ach luáin, chodó hechanta sin, cho gír I loscach in é drúach mhór na heicheráid. Net vown in your feet or present. Highest láthar an na heo, sa bhalavik, san drúcha gihén, mar sáchar bhuan taf halafún, och cuinir a gú sa gada haust, fan nach eichgir bat gihén, fan nach laun ach crahag, net vown, mar losca brad. From Tarscivig and Prince Edward Island in Cape Breton to Arizona in the southwestern United States to a native or an indigenous reserve and also a nature reserve. Eilean to Tonto, Arizona. Hiwe in Duais Gel a dhearg san niuch, amas na parca seo, Gian is a lesach gnásich, san naum a galab, san naum richech. Gus dam a chucal is jóin a chuntas is bíast an becas mór a chumul beo, síast an blianich in haast chun a lachaniu, nar hí carapet an díalta a rúsca na bealach, is batich in spárs, count an cool, suas is sías, uad is uad, is munir an áteile, tyf hawl na benne, an an parc Gian na níisianach, tyf hawl na húid a jerecasa, saach sa fanal, mar a niúlar a bhuie, as cúnaráid fór, mar bhuinir íle gon oper, me chaniu bottle fallow bo mór. Fochan and Cain, a distant or a foreign sublanguage, brought about by thinking of the game Risk and wars of imperial intervention. Colach ri clown, a clich Risk, gavet ri fed in the Turk, Sjallavit Duchen and Cain in 1918, Frangish Charach is Beurlach Ruai is Muniranacha van a Vlasset, Gusengagit Dishbulach Glon, is Blair a Voxen you, a Hoolan Sevillen, mar Weistjes Skolhapich, a Kur Glens, a Shaun Chimeragur, is Gigi Big Balla of Gachéat an a Hin, Al Jazeera, le Clachen Vetle Heam and Kaulga Arishin Yesker, at Saha Balich Givatoloch, a tukul bratach is cún Baghdad, mar anosht, mar echtri. Back to Prince Edward Island, which is the place because of my mother's connection and my grandmother's connection there. Shamar Ban, Glen William, a vacant room in Glen William. Gach and Dalche, Bulloch Glon, Fuer, Ban, mar snech ga cahag rituv drachach dúnje, mar roag foch bhún briste van een leppi. D'charaken, your fingers. Laiet gesach gersheef nam live d'charaken fatakul. Is smúnich mi man a chraag a verreget go, gyn híns gef pein, sklisket, na hínien galla, nan skúr fínal de grín, fein faskig nam vosh. Is colach ri muim sleve baun benje galavit mar shit an een prippig soel klie. Tanach mi a dhís d'charaken in jallant de trein, a shine gemach na ma vach mennevein. Brútje is a vuarug, le skrapig is skripig injen, nach de reipach uach gur tanne mach reiskin heen. And a poem about changing nappies. An elegy as well. Screep the vroo, scratch your belly. Screep the vroo ma husky, chanigedum, braha ma henever, second tayas in yilan. Agus, chavia fatanische, kutjerish, mar chunjachen kainch ma henner, is na chule vuier shin. A chuchele hiad laad gan a lunastel, is rukut te heen ma husky vik, coig la na jei ma rekkers stoge an daan. Agus a nishes to form a voort, mi changig de vatten luch, maar in joen je heen, ik uchgewaars, ha mi kanal, skriep de vroo ma husky, is chavia fatanische, a miscrutanella, stúcéit an núl go riaslach d'mheathair. And then from elegy to Sardinia, Ceistneachach na Gaidhe. And in Sardinia had the Ceistneachach na Gaidhe, cos a hai, in y Australia hawn, no che Africa ma hua, sma na Gaidhin teaghlach, go beidéan ardras an ticket, heitiu aram, a machas a vidi, mar vistral, mar shirach go chéin, gamakal an dachuch chos sullir ciún, ri grúnt vari nostrum, scam loscug, mad íperst vuan na fiala bio. Questioning the wind. In Sardinia, they interrogate the wind. Where is it from? Is it a maestrale or a North African one? And like those capricious winds, regardless of the point from which they come, you blew over me from out of Midi, like a mistral, like a distant scirocco, leaving me both as bright becalmed as the bottom of Mare Nostrum, and burning me like the endless sacrifice of living flesh. I just want to return for a minute to Eilean, the island my father's people come from. It's an old poem, Eilean. Itir post Eilean agus ceanráit sias gan nó, ha éidir chu teannost, sa ha úsa ar am hín, an an dorachat is a char, a tíinead fara, an an solas búil na Gàidhlige, an an pripig gúil is bristig dúil. The next three poems, it's a wee suite from earlier in the year at the height of lockdown. So they're called Dain Gaum, poems at the time of distemper. Ceilrig na nían ruglasag an lá mar chúine a laibhse a bocag na grúig mas dúscatú. Sta chatal súain mar chlár cerebach a chluich uad is uad eile. Bird song, before grey dawn, like a memory of her hand dipped in your hair before you'd wake and your laced sleep like a ragged record played time and time again. Hanna heonje fast nas brakkele a mui haar straatjen lome en kellere gedolke eef maar rekkerst sagerig in je dune nachel till je gaun. The birds are growing cockier outside over barren streets, their warbling turning to a cry like an answer to the silence of humanity which is no longer there. And you, Jadánich na cáisce gréigich, scaun gon cluniúiteret, cálan celrí na matne céiste, fallach bar chrúan, fat slíon fallu a velle, nach strip nían na bráthar, glasje staúnta héin, mar critchvich, run a nasheri. Today, Greek Easter Sunday, you can barely hear them at all. Warbler band of a crucified morning hiding atop trees down empty city paths that no girl or her brother climb, locked inside themselves like believers before the resurrection. Sean Cloch. Si sean chloch go has a fian vor a hiúlas lein vo chian an cian. Brickish haun a churis a chasvek orn ullug nar a hifte sin go tukalorn la buie. Si sidav leine haun gar tachkag vo chul na haig shies go baun na brainia min dúl. An old cloak. Ample pain is an old cloak that travels with us from ages gone. Tight trousers that hobble us all when we make to move on some happy day. It's a bitter shirt choking us from the back of the neck down to the bottom of the belly, I expect. Agus mírechail dan mar chúinechan Joe Gàidhlig as Eilean Sgitheanach agus a bhach. Smottle bhréig, a smattering of lies. Pàdraig MacAoidh, colas ahar hain, a tach an tjenne, na enech in hrein, a taring asam mar benaus, gamach in cholle, fearnach mar in fós. San taul go líananig bicirvic, le fachlin birach is smottal vreig, gus a bristin law, ríist. Young Patrick, the likeness of his very father, beside the fire, with his vibrant mind, taking the piss out of me, as was wont to do Ian Colla's son, the still late one, and the whole fills itself little by little with cheeky words and a smattering of lies, till day breaks again and again and again.